What if burnout wasn't a problem to fix, but a signal guiding you toward deeper alignment with life? The Practice Podcast invites you to explore how aligning with your energy can transform your connection to yourself, your relationships, and your work. Through real stories, data-driven insights, and life-centered tools, each episode helps you tune into your body's signals and create life-affirming change from the inside out. Welcome to the Practice Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Practice Podcast. I'm Jessica Corbin, and today we have a special guest because our girl Christy Brito is on spring break, and so we're bringing in some actual practice members. And today I have Adam Monahan. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks, Jess. Hello, everybody. Pleasure to be here.
So I felt inclined to offer you an invitation because how I see you relating to the practice is inspiring. You are taking it on with a certain level of curiosity and focus and intentionality. And you also have a phenomenal way of creating connections between people and community building. So all these things made me feel like I wanted to have a deeper conversation that other people could listen in on, because I am sure that anybody that is watching that's just being exposed to the practice could be feeling drawn to what it is that we're putting down, and yet maybe still having some questions about what it actually means as somebody outside of the founders that created it to practice. Like, what is this practice that we're talking about? And I would really be interested in hearing what the practice is from your mouth. Like, how would you describe what it is that we are collectively doing?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for those kind words. It's been a real pleasure to work with you and Christy and to just dive into everything that you are creating here. So yeah, I mean, the practice is, to me, it's a community of people coming together using data, or specifically taking our heart rate variability to try to understand our energetic needs, try to better manage our energy, and do so in a community, and really like learn from each other, and also explore personally, as you mentioned, right? There's this aspect of getting beneath the surface. And the data specifically that we're working with, the HRV data, is really helpful to do that, because I think it allows me to kind of connect the dots. I might be between what I may be feeling or experiencing with something that's tangible. So yeah, that's how I'd kind of start it off.
And what drew you to it? Just so people understand even how you got into our world.
I know Christy.
Yes.
Our daughters are in the same kindergarten class. And so when I heard Christy talk about source and the idea of digging into energetic literacy, yeah, something just piqued. And I thought that I wanted to understand myself a little deeper. And when she was talking about the use of data, that's where my sort of operations analytical mind was like, oh, cool, I can use that as a tool. And it's been a very interesting journey going from like, take this thing, take this tool, manage it, to, oh, I just have to kind of like sit back and learn and experience and let it be.
It's so interesting, everything that you're putting down, being that how we have arranged the practice is that the data is the entry point. It does ground the conversation in many ways inside of ourselves and with others, but it's the entry point for then this deeper self-exploration. Is that how you are also finding it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that the world that we live in is so, there is this aspect of everything has to be data driven, everything has to be accounted for. It's all about production and consumption, and you have to track and count your widgets. And so that's sort of the operational environment. And when you're raised and when you live in that environment, that's something, there's this tangible thing to hold on to. And so I think that's why for me, and I think for a lot of people, it's an easy, it's also grounding, and it's like, it feels real, right? I think that like there's a bit of, I think that this topic, the theme of energy, there's a lot of woo woo out there. We live in LA. You can go to a shaman. You can, go and you do your cold plunge. You go see your shaman. You go eat your mushrooms, and there's all of this like, there's that kind of like the woo woo aspect of things. The data is a sort of a very tangible entry point that somebody who is curious about the world of energy can grab onto. But then as you get into it, I think that you sort of, instead of you holding on to the data, everything that the community, that the practice, and that the data a little bit gives you, it starts to kind of pull you in.
I agree. There is this anchor point with the objectiveness of HRV saying this is your level of readiness today. And then you get to go into more of a reflective state on two different modes. One is, okay, how can I align my actions with my level of readiness in order to keep myself renewed for the days to come? And then the other one is, and it could actually go first. And before you get to action, why is my readiness here? Because a lot of times we maybe aren't giving certain elements the credence or the respect that they deserve in terms of the load that they are creating for us because of all of the reasons, all of the conditioning. And so what I would be curious to hear from you is, what has the practice so far illuminated inside of you, a pattern, a belief that you are now actively seeing yourself unravel or untangle, that is actually feeling helpful and maybe even exciting?
Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe I'll just back up. Can
Sure.
I tell you kind of how I
Please.
incorporate
Please.
the practice into my life?
I would love that.
Coming into this, I already had sort of like this morning balance seeking or level setting practice where I do a little bit of breath work, just like a box breathing, and then meditate and journal, and then do some mobility and movement. So I'd adopted this, I don't know, say over the last 18 months, sort of since I have been unmoored. This helped me kind of stay grounded. But now, or since I started with the practice, the first thing that I do is I take my HRV. So right when I wake up, I know I get that information about where I'm at from an energetic standpoint, and I'm just able to stop and reflect on trends, emotional, physical, whether it's related to friendships, family, work. I kind of have this, when I get my HRV assessment, it gives me this sort of like yeah, just this piece of information that allows me to step back and say, oh, well, why, for example, am I at a recovery today? What's been going on? Or am I anxious about something? What's upcoming? And so that has been super helpful. And again, like that analytical side of me, when I first started, the wheels were spinning, and I was trying to, like, connect all the dots. And now it's more kind of like sitting with the information and just being in that energetic zone. And so your question was, what are some of the trends that I've been noticing, or what is the data kind of revealing for me?
What I have found is that we've been taught as, a society that everything is, especially from an HRV perspective, think of the traditional products like a Whoop or an Aura. A lot of this is about controlling for an outcome. Like Whoop is about getting to peak, and I'm all for peak. I just don't know if you can control it in a traditional fashion to get to peak. I think we need to rest in beingness and allowing the dots to almost be connected. We like observing how the dots connect rather than us muscling to connect the dots. There's an inner posture that's fundamentally different with the practice, which is one of witness mode, compassion mode, and this ability to open up your aperture to see holistically. You even named it. You're also observing relational connections between others and work. You're noticing the multidimensionality of yourself. Is this emotional, physical, mental? Like you're already seen in such it feels like 5-dimensional capacity, right? And I don't know if like the other traditional HRV products are accounting for this, when in fact, it deeply affects energy, our inner posture, our ability to listen, and our ability to see deeply affects our overall level of readiness and ability to achieve, sustained performance. And so what I see in you, observing you through this process, is somebody that is like, it's like you're knotting this knot of like controlling for outcome. And you're just like, oh yeah, we don't have to do that anymore. So you're like, I'll talk about it as unkinking that hose. You're not gripping, and there is just a lot more allowing in your being, which is going to be helpful for the overall energy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I sort of over the last, and I keep referencing this, sort of like 18 months, but I think it's also helpful to know that as you're unkinking those knots, it takes time. Like it is a process. And I kind of was working with a therapist and came upon this sort of mindset shift where I have operated for as long as I can remember in this paradigm of control versus chaos. Like I have to control everything. And if something is out of my control, then it's chaos. And it was control good, chaos bad. And when I was in that world, everything is just wound so tightly that anything that shifts, it's just like, no, it's wrong, it's off. And I like fly off the handle, everything was like bottled up. And I was able to work through, and in a moment of stillness, it just sort of came to me. It was like, oh, I need to reshape this paradigm from one of control versus chaos, to one of structure and serendipity. So replacing control with structure, because there is clearly there's structure to a building, there's structure to the universe. So yeah, there's some structure that we need in life. I have 2 young children, I'm married, I work. So I obviously have to have some structure. I can't just not have it. But how can I then allow for the things that just come up? Not being chaos, but being serendipitous and looking at them from a perspective of accepting. And it's not like, oh, this has gone wrong. It's more like, what can I learn here? And so that's how I've almost had to kind of like learn that lesson again with Source, where again, it was just sort of, I was naturally inclined, oh, cool, data. How can I control that? How can I take this and do something with it? Versus, now I'm at the point of just letting it be, understanding the data. And as you said, you sort of like, you're seeing, I don't know whether it's like in the Matrix or this sort of different dimensionality where things are sort of becoming clear, right? You're able to, at least I use it, and I'm able to, as I was saying, I added on to that practice of breath work and meditation. So I already have this moment of this time of stillness, but how do I then allow all of the dots to connect? And then I'm still grounded in something tangible, right? That's like, oh, today you have a maintain day. Okay. Why could I have that? What could be going on? How can I go about my day and tune in? Versus, I think when I started with the practice, it was like, oh, maintain. I want push. I want to push. How do I make it so? What can I do? How can I optimize my day to make it so that I have a push tomorrow? And it was like, dude, just don't worry about it. Like, observe. And we might get to this, but I'm on a trend of recovery and maintain. And even now, it's still like, today it was like, still maintain. Okay, cool. That's cool. So I just have to like convince myself.
Totally.
No, it's cool. Maintain's cool. And then I can sit back and be like, why maintain? Okay. So my first reaction is always like, oh, I don't know. I don't want it. It's like, no, don't control it. No, this is just the structure of your day. Let some serendipity happen. And if, there are certain things that I can still do. I'm like, oh, let me make sure I drink a lot of water. I need to get my daily movement in. Maybe I'm not going to kill myself in a workout, but it's part of what I want to do. I want to move. So let me still do that. And let me think about the interactions that I'm going to have with my wife and with my children. But I don't have to I'm not sitting there being like, all right, I better do this so I can get a push tomorrow.
It is one of, I think, nobody would talk about this other than, I think, me at this point. But I think that is one of our biggest contributors to the health of society is everything that you are saying, which is you are unlearning that push means good and recover means bad.
Yeah.
Like nature, in order for nature to be healthy, it always has to ebb and flow. In order for nature to be healthy, there always has to be these seasons and the seasonality. And we are nature. So to think that we are somehow above the ebb and the flow is causing pain.
Yeah.
Suffering somewhere in us.
That's the suffering.
Rather than understanding our nature, understanding the mechanism by which we live in, and really allowing it to be a daily practice of just aligning with energetic needs, knowing that that gets me to higher ground than trying to game my own system. That's why sometimes biohacking feels so incomplete to me, because I don't feel like it's taking the heart of the matter into account. I get it. I'm, again, former Division I, cross-country and track athlete, All-American. I am a competitive person. I'm in a competitive game of tech startups. I love competition. If you had Uno right now, I would play that like, my reputation was on the line.
Yep.
I love competition. And I had to learn the hard way that there is something that we have to surrender to when it comes to our limits physiologically. Our spirits are boundless, they're infinite, and I think there are many people that identify with themselves as that limitless aspect, which I totally understand. And yet we live in these body mind vehicles that have certain limitations, and we need to understand these rules. And so to kind of totally change the game from a binary win-lose to making it more regenerative and really understanding natural laws. That's where I want us to all get to. And because I know we have limited time today, I do want to ground this conversation in your more tactical experience. So tell me, you just told me, but let's start it from the top. Tell me what your commitment was, because here was another difference with the practice opposed to any other HRV product is that we make monthly commitments. We take monthly energetic literacy assessments so we can understand subjectively where we are pinching ourselves off from our life force. And we have a certain framework. If you ever do the membership, you'll understand what the framework is. And Adam was able to illuminate one dimension. I think it was connection to me was the dimension. And I think it was action and the commitment. You can say the commitment if you remember it.
Yeah. My commitment was in the vein of vulnerability.
Yes.
Exploring my vulnerability.
Yeah.
And the specific commitment was every morning to add to my journaling practice, journaling through vulnerability and opening up. Because I think, just sort of going back to what you were talking about, both about the sort of society, us as part, not even society, nature, us as part of nature, but we've sort of, as humans, we've evolved. We think that we've evolved ourselves out of this connection, or we're separate from nature. And so there's human society, and then there's nature. And I mean, I don't know that just it just doesn't feel right. When you tap back in, that's not, you realize that we're part of nature and the sort of like the natural laws and the systems that operate in nature. And so, but we have, as a society, we've sort of like trained ourselves away from that. And specifically as men in this sort of like 21st century capitalist society where everything is about, as I said before, production, consumption, about driving forward, we have become very sort of closed off. We being men have become very closed and guarded and focused on, me personally, control. And so my commitment was, okay, how do I, as you were talking about, unkink the knot? Well, I have to be vulnerable. I have to be willing to go deeper and just witness the things that come up. And even if those things are scary, or if they're emotional, or if they bring up those I said scary, but fears or uncomfortability, just sitting in it and like allowing myself to do that and think about what do I actually need? So instead of trying to manipulate and sort of hack my way into that achievement, like better self, no, like what do I actually need today? What is what am I feeling? If I have a low HRV, if I have to recover, can I give myself the space? Can I be generous with myself? And you're just taught to button it up or suck it up and just keep going and just drive and sleep when you die. And it's just like, what? Sleep when you die? You need sleep. I need to take a nap today. Like, it's okay for me to put my phone away, tune out, and just take a nap or just sit there and read a book. So the vulnerability is about, for me, looking that square in the eye and loving myself enough to allow myself off the hook. And it's a process. You're taught to not do that. And it's like, no, I love you, dude. You need to rest. You need to chill, or you need to go do a workout or whatever it is, but like, love yourself and allow it.
I think everything that you're saying right now has the potential to heal the world. And truth be told, it is one thing to be a woman saying everything that you just said, and then it's a totally other thing to be a man and say what you just said and say it clearly, eloquently, honestly. And I really think that that is the core solve. We, as people, need to be able to sit with our tender parts and see our tender parts through the eyes of compassion. For some reason, society gives more room for women to do this, and yet men need it as much. And there aren't, though, the models out there of how to be a masculine man and do it. It is such a gap. What has empowered you to do it?
I've had a couple of experiences in my life where I've just been sort of like cast aside, and instead of, I was a very angry kid. I was like that typical like male energy, be angry, punch holes in walls, and like didn't know what was going on. I just had all these emotions and would let everything, keep it bottled up until it exploded. And I don't know if I can point to one specific thing. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I just wanted to be loved. I wanted to love myself and still, still be a man's man, still play sports and hang with the boys and drive a pickup truck. Like,
it's all possible.
Yeah, you can do it all. Like, you can.
But you have to unsilo yourself. So when you are talking, I'm like, oh, you've unsiloed yourself to allow yourself access, to yourself. And that is when we're talking about regenerating human energy. And we believe that the root cause of the human energy crisis is disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you're talking about is this ability to reconnect. You wouldn't think that HRV would give you permission to reconnect with your vulnerability, but look,
yeah,
like it 100% does if you let it. In 1 minute a day, you now get this main line back in to go, okay, what's really going on?
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold space for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to abandon what's here. And you just learn how to like reparent all your parts so that everything and everyone is just resting with more cohesion and coherence so that you can move through your day with less friction. Because otherwise, that part inside is still hitting the wall.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get to that little boy that didn't know how to process, he's still going to punch holes through walls. And that's what's happening inside. And that's what's happening as a projection outside. And it's like, oh my God, all of this can be reconciled,
It's interesting. You talk about disconnection. And I think that word is, it's in the zeitgeist, right? We talk a lot about how disconnected we are. I don't think we're disconnected. The connection is there. It's, if we go back to what you said before, it's just like it's knotted up.
Yep.
And so it's sort of like the metaphor of the blue sky when you're meditating. So the idea is up above the clouds and the storm, the sky is blue. And we're so caught up in our everyday lives and in our thoughts that we're not allowing ourselves to see through it. But it's there. The sky is blue. We're connected. Everything is connected. We're connected to ourselves. We're connected to each other. We're connected to nature. And so it's just about, and specifically using this HRV data, it's about understanding, allowing yourself to see and be seen just as you are. And so just kind of like just taking a deep breath, taking a couple deep breaths and loosening up and being able to feel connected to yourself, connected to the people around you. And when that happens, you see the connection is there. You can kind of like allow the knot to get unkinked. You allow the clouds to pass and you see the blue sky. So it's there. It's just, it's all mucked up because of the way we've created society over the past, I don't know, 10,000 or so years.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that we're coming up on time and I do want to hit some of our beats. So you had the vulnerability commitment.
Yeah.
That seems to have gone very consistently and has been fruitful for you.
It's a part of my everyday since you and I had the conversation. So I have a little 1 or 2 lines in my journal about how can I sit with my vulnerability today? What do I need today?
Such a powerful inquiry. And then your energy status, did I hear you say it's a maintain?
Today's a maintain.
Today's a maintain.
Yeah.
And the trend has been recover, maintain, or maintain, recover?
Recover for a few days into maintain. I haven't had a push day in maybe like 10 days or so.
You're like, I'm not counting, but I mean, maybe it's...
Since 11 days and exactly. No, I don't know.
And with observation, have you been able to see as to maybe what has been creating the load? Yeah,
it sort of just struck me the other day. I have a torn meniscus in my right knee, and I have not been wanting to get surgery. And I got the diagnosis in September of last year. So I should have already taken care of this, but I kind of powered through it. And then I just re-injured it recently. And so I've been kind of emotionally, it's affected me emotionally more than it has physically, to be honest. Cause it's like, I'm just kind of beating myself up like, oh, I can't go do this. I can't go do that. I have to adjust my workouts. And like, it's kind of annoying and it hurts. And then I have to schedule the surgery. So all of these things that are just layering on top of, just sort of everyday life. So it's that. And then I've had some like emotionally heavy conversations with family that, I'm sort of like a classic introvert where I can be social, I can go out and do all the things, and I can have intense conversations, but afterward it just depletes me. And so this is one that had been, I've been thinking about for a while and then had it, and it turns out it like wasn't that bad. It was fine, but it's still, you prepare for it and there's like this emotional upwelling. And so I think you kind of like, that was part of the recovery and now back to maintain. So there's something physical, there's something emotional. It's all there. It's all there swirling around.
Yeah, well done. And again, these are well-earned recover days. I mean, it takes a lot of courage again to speak your authentic experience into dynamics at times, and it can register as a load. So it's well earned. It's like you stretch yourself and now allow the contractive phase of your renewal to happen because you will.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to be like, guaranteed you're about to go on another push tear where it's just like ka-ka, 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 ka-ka. And then it's like, okay. And then it will come back down. Again, the ultimate would be if we can just get baseline. We're never trying to stop the ebb and flow. But if we can orient ourselves and design our lives in a way where we can kind of cruise at a higher baseline, that would be a fine goal to have. Fine goal. And then during this time, you've actually already named it, which is the edges are, again, speaking authenticity into some relationships. And when I'm talking about edginess, it's what is causing activation.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it. Anytime I'm talking about edginess, it's kind of the thing that makes you like make you want to roll your neck and roll your shoulders. Like your body starts giving you the feedback that there's a somatic activation that shows you, ooh, class is in session. Like, oh my God, I'm being called to tend. And then we can make another commitment based on that. Now, edginess that you just named was around the anticipation of said conversation. So I don't know if there is any more to be done, to kind of complete that curriculum. I can just lay that question out there to see if there is now a new commitment that wants to be made.
Yeah. Well, I mean, specifically with that, it was a conversation with my dad.
Yeah.
I just hadn't, he and I just hadn't spoken in a while. And there was a little bit of like, he wasn't calling me or texting me. I was like, dude, you're my dad. You're supposed to. Now having kids, it's like, it's my job to just check in with my kids. Dad, why are you not checking in with me? And so I was like trying to make it a big deal, but then trying not to make it a big deal. And so I just like, I was gearing up to call him and have this big conversation, but instead I just called him to ask him a thing about my grandfather. And we just talked about some random stuff. And at the end, I kind of slipped in hey, I'd love it if you call me more. Like you can be around. And so, but my commitment is not to just leave it to him, is to just continue to check in. Cause I can, it's not like I need to do something about it, but it's just little things. I can send him a text or just check in. So it doesn't have to, my commitment is to not make it a big deal and just make it a normal relationship thing where you care about somebody and you check in.
You're leading from the front, Adam, in a lot of ways. And I really appreciate your engagement and participation in what we're doing here. And I know that your story is going to help other people validate their experience. So thank you. And it's going to be my joy to continue to support you.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. And thank you for having me here and for, I'm also curious and excited to explore more, like deepening in the practice and getting to know you more and Christy and the team. And I'm a big supporter of what you are doing here.
Thank you.